World War I ace, and right when people were beginning to think about things like camouflage and painting their planes to blend in, he painted his red and basically said, "I'm coming for you." And so when they saw his red plane, and his whole crew would paint their planes bright colors, when they saw his crew coming, they would, like, people would just turn around and run because he did a really good job of intimidating. And when you look at what he did, he got really high kill rates because he and his whole crew, he'd wait till his crew went in and the fight was going, and he'd wait for stragglers on the edge and he'd just pick them all off and then keep getting his kill count. He was a camper in video game terminology. Yeah. Okay. This is case 1. We're not going to take the F2 right away and breed them together. But if you did, the F2 generation would also be tall. This group, what's the magic word we just learned? What would this be called? True breeding. Would you all like to learn the Snoopy song about killing the red berry?
Yes, I actually haven't heard it.
If we have time at the end, I do that. Okay, case 2. So he picks 2 random tall plants, he gets that result. Case 2, he picks 2 random tall plants because good experiment, he does everything more than once, and he gets. Anybody want to predict? No, I just want you to guess 1 plant. Short. Yeah, he does. He gets a short plant. It is. It is kind of weird because if you're studying traits, he never got tall ones out of short ones. Go back. Come on. So that was consistent. This is sort of saying that tallness is different than short. So we got a short. What would the second one be? Tall. Oh, gee. Control Z. Tall. And, infinite cloner. On your paper, just click on it and select infinite cloner, and you can just draw over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that works. You got a tall. What about the third one? No, it was tall. But the fourth one was also tall. Yeah. Pungent squares are something that you do with slime molds. No, they could be in any order. I typically do it tall, 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 short. But since someone said short first, I was like, okay, that works. Because it doesn't matter the order. Also, I should point out, it's not like he had 2 parents. He bred them together. He got exactly 4 plants. And it was this. Real data was probably more like, oh, I got 263 of those. And 748 of these. And he would go, oh, it's roughly a 1-to-3 ratio. Because he grew many of them. So he kept careful records, and he's doing this because this is statistical. I did here, didn't happen in my class, but another teacher was teaching genetics. And their parents had, I think, 4 children, and all of them had blue eyes. I think dad had blue eyes and mom had brown eyes, and so they accused their parents. One of us must not be your actual genetic child, because genetically, only 1 out of 4 of us should have blue eyes. And it's like, what? If you do the Punnett square and you calculate percentages, that's just the percentage. If they had like 1,000 children, you'd expect that to show. But each time, it's a random chance. Each time it's 1 out of 4, or 2 out of 4, or 3 out of 4, whatever the chance is. So you can get children in a row that don't look the same, that don't correspond to this, because individual numbers may not correspond. So he found a version that had not true breeding, which was weird. Because why does short have true breeding, no matter what, and tall doesn't? Also, what generation is this one? F1. So they're both F1. So he's got this weird case. He's like, I know. I'm going to spend my summer doing experiments. So I'm going to grab a couple of these. Anybody not done writing this down? I used to do this with flower colors, and I switched to height because the students complained about the amount of coloring they had to do. So next one. I'm going to put the tall one first because the tall one is always more important. As someone who's 6'5", I believe that to be true. In actuality, if you can have any choice of your height, tall is terrible. You can't buy any amount of clothes. And you die on average 8 to 14 years earlier than everybody else. You're bigger, your heart has to work harder. Yeah. Okay. First experiment. Both of these are true breeding. True breeding tall. True breeding short. This is the P generation. He takes a tall and a short, puts them in a room, plays some soft music. They go on a date. Hands them a camel hair brush. Start spreading your pollen. Guesses as to what you get when you breed a tall and a short. Medium. Now, that is an example of either incomplete dominance, which we're going to do later. One of the reasons why this worked out so well, probably because he chose traits that have this, is he restricted himself to really simple traits that don't fall out of Mendelian genetics. So it's either smooth or wrinkled. It's not kind of wrinkled. It's either yellow or green. It's never yellowy green. And so all the traits he's studying don't do that. So there's no shading. It's either on or off. And that, a lot of early science seems to be scientists going, the world is complicated. I have this really simple thing in front of me, and I'm just going to try and figure out the simple thing. And then they find some of the groundwork. So this is groundwork. There is things that do that, but we're not going to consider it here. So medium's a good answer, but there wasn't. Any others? Short. Tall? All tall? 3 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 3? 2 to 2. 3 to 1. Yes? All tall? I'll ask the class. I want everybody to vote. Okay. How many of you think all short? Nobody. Excellent. As a tall person, congratulations. I do. Okay. All short, 3 short, 1 tall. Is that like a maybe? No. Okay. Half and half. 2 short, 2 tall. Okay. Half and half. 3 tall, 1 short. Far more. All tall. Nicely done. All tall. Yeah, all tall. And this is where it really starts to dial in, because this is where he has what we know now today. Tallness is a dominant trait. So if you take one that's true breeding tall, not like sometimes they have short kids, true breeding tall all the time, well, we know that means they have no genes for shortness in their ancestry at all. Like, it's all gone. They're just tall. So that trait completely, quote unquote, dominates or masks, I would say. Dominate sounds weird. The other trait, and so they all turn out to be tall.
Is there a male and female in plants?
Oh yes, absolutely there is. Plants are have a method of sexual reproduction. That's what flowers are. Someone who knows planting may know way more. I knew more about this when I took biology. I haven't done plant biology in so long. But pollen is essentially sperm. So think about that next time you're outside. There's a beautiful cherry blossom tree and it's blowing pollen all over everybody in your face and your car, and like it's covering you in tree sperm. Yeah. But the pollen goes into the flower accepts it, it attaches to what we would call an egg maybe. It's not perfect, I'm just relating it to mammals, but plants are slightly different. But they have the equivalent, and then you combine, and that's what a seed becomes. So, and it's not really an egg, you get a seed, and then that's the flower. Plants also have asexual reproduction, so like they can grow a runner and like cut it off in a new tree and it's a clone, so there's a lot of cloning that goes on with plants, but they have sexual reproduction. A lot of the plants you eat in the grocery store are clones, because we get a mutation that makes the fruit so much better, but also makes it so it can't reproduce sexually.
Seedless.
So yeah, seedless watermelon. If you've ever broken open a banana or cut one open, you know the little tiny black dots in the center? Those are supposed to be seeds. They're non-fertile seeds. So the reason you have all this nice big fruit is we got a mutation that emphasized fruit and got rid of the seeds, basically. And so none of those bananas can be planted. You can never grow a banana from the store. As they're all asexually reproduced. And sadly, that also means that none of us get to have a real good banana. All the Cavendish bananas, the original bananas that were sold in the 50s and the 40s, that fake banana flavor is based on, which is why fake banana flavor never tastes like actual bananas. It's because you've never tasted the Cavendish bananas. They're all wiped out by fungus.
No.
Since there were no, what?
We eat Cavendish, the old one was Big Mike.
Oh, Big Mike, sorry, I got it back. Really?
Yes.
Is there another name for Big Mike? Because I learned a different name.
It's Michael Gigantus.
Okay, that sounds more, because Big Mike was familiar, but not quite familiar
But
enough.
Cavendish is also
So
going
Cavendish is the modern one.
and is going extinct now.
And is going extinct now. Because if you're not sexually reproducing, all your children are identical, which means it's really easy for things to evolve to kill you and take you over. By the way, there are still the originals around. We just can't grow them commercially, because as soon as you grow a big crop, it attracts a disease and it wipes them out. But there are people that have them in their backyards in like Florida. So if you really wanted one, live somewhere warm and grow one. But apparently they're bigger and just way better as a flavor. And our current ones apparently might have the same thing happen to them.
And so does Big Mike reproduce sexually or
Asexually.
asexually?
They're all cuttings and stems, yeah.
And what country?
You just need a really warm country. So I know people grow them. I think aren't they indigenous to like South America or something? Or again, geography not my fine point. I know people grow them in Florida, but I don't know where they're originally from. Avocado, similar. There was this big thing about mangoes. No. There's a fruit, not pineapple. It's grown in Hawaii. They make a huge amount of money off of it. Papaya. And they have a genetically engineered crop of papaya that was going to be made illegal. And all the farmers got together who grow organic papaya to make sure it didn't become illegal. Because the only reason you can buy organic non-GMO papaya is because of the GMO non-organic papaya. Because what they did is they took the farms that are growing it organically and they would plant the genetically engineered stuff around it so the disease couldn't pass in. And so they're protecting the crops with a type of herd immunity to prevent it. Save their farming industry. And people have proposed doing a similar thing now with bananas, but bananas, this happened a long time ago, so there's not quite as big a word.
Does it matter if the dynamic gene is female or like male? Like
Dominant? No. It doesn't matter which one it is, it's just who it is there. And plants, like when they're sexual reproducers, some of them will produce both male and female parts, and they can actually reproduce with themselves if they have to. Other ones, you get a male plant and a female plant, and they have to have the pollen go back and forth. I think pea plants have both.
Pea plants have both.
Yeah.
Walnuts don't.
Which don't?
Walnuts.
Walnuts.
It's so difficult to grow.
Isn't a walnut a tree?
Yes.
Feels wrong.
Female walnuts will pick a single other tree's pollen that it likes and then have long dates.
So they're choosy trees.
Yes.
Huh.
They're so different.
Okay, now I'm not gonna tell you. I've already gone on 2 tangents, and that is way too fascinating. I want you to be quiet now, because the fact that walnuts have preferences, I'm gonna have to look this up right after this class. This is way too exciting. Okay, so you've got the parents, you have tall children, you take the tall children, you put them in a room. No, I don't want to go into the room. Too bad. You must mate.
God.
And he approaches them with the
Maybe
camel
it's really
brush.
graphic.
So this is not consent.
They're pea plants, so I don't think there is such a thing. I mean, they're pea plants. They don't have a brain,
Well, Mr.
unless you believe that certain book, The Hidden Lives of The Hidden Lives of Plants. You can talk. Mr. Norman has an amazing book. It's written like 60s, like all these types of books were, and the person who wrote it genuinely believes. I think they got high a lot. You can talk to plants, and that you can, and they'll talk to you all the time, and they're saying things. The secret language of plants. Anyway, okay. So we have tall and short. We get all tall. Take the babies. Sorry, that just made it seem worse. Breed the F1 together. There, that's better. That's more technical. We'll feel better about that. What do we got? Hands up, all short. 3 short, 1 tall. 3 short, 1 tall. 50-50, 2 and 2. 3 tall, 1 short. All tall again. 3 tall, 1 short. These were true breeding, but by putting them together, we made the exact same case that we made before. So now we've replicated this. We now know why this happens, and we now know why this happens. So we need 1, 2, 3, and another. Oops. Yeah. Thank you. Oh. Yo.
Since both of the parents have the
Yeah. Both of the parents have the dominant tallness gene, but both of the parents also have the shortness gene. It's just masked.
They don't though. You said they don't.
Oh, these parents, this is all tall,
Yeah.
that's all short.
Yeah.
But these have
And
both.
The F1 only have tall, right? That's what.
They only, so, phenotype is tall. I don't want to quite say what the genotype is yet, because that's on the next page where I go through it. So hang on to that thought, and I'll show you why. In fact, I might even go back to this and label it so you can see. Because their genotype is not tall. It is in between, even though all you see is tall. If this is the F1, what is this? F2. And we discovered that these are not true breeding.
Why do we still have monks chanting in the background?
Why wouldn't we have monks chanting in the background?
These are the castrated
We should do this every class, to be honest. I am so. Then again, I'm one of those people that grew up in the '90s and liked Enya. Yes.
You know, there's lots of true breeding and true breeding. It's like since these two parents like eventually died, so then the F1.
No, their children are not true breeding. So if you have a true breeding,
Well, because they with each other. Oh, that's what
yes, because they mixed. Yeah. So we're going to describe that in note form. This last experiment, Mendel reasoned that there must be factors present for both tallness and shortness. true breeding. The P's always pass down certain visible traits to the offspring. He said, the offspring always resemble the parents, which, remember, at this time, that's a statement. Not everybody believed that everything you inherited was from your parents. You could get it from other places. Whether they thought like little fairies crept in and did something to you, or they just thought you could. Like a cow licking your face as a baby might pass something on to you and you grow up with a bit of a cow's head. Yeah, if something touches you when you're a baby, that explains why did you grow up. People's old ideas of genetics sometimes were a little weird. Pardon?
Isn't the Fae thing just like mutations that you can just get
Yeah.
with one?
Or you know, neurospicy. Someone grows up, they don't think like everybody else. They're like, oh, clearly the Fae did something to them.
Obviously.
Plants that grew tall or short I don't know, that should be a lowercase h. He bred together one plant of each height. I'm now looking at this, I think I worded it badly. To make a first generation, F1. Let me shorten it down. Every offspring, yeah, I don't need to say all those words, every works. Offspring plant was tall, identical to their tall parents. He bred those F1 offspring with themselves. To make a second generation, F2. And here's the actual numbers because we have access to his original books. He counted 705 tall and 224 short, with identical to the original short parents. And so he said that's basically a 3-to-1 ratio. And he did this over and over and over again. And statistically, that works out. You're never going to get perfect, but this was allowing him to start seeing what's going on. So we would say this is a... Oh, thank you. I'll unlock that in a moment. And just so you know, it wasn't personal to you, I did that with the other class where I locked them all out and made them wear shame things. If one person comes late, yeah, come in late, be quick, get your notes out. If a gaggle are late, then it's just irritating because now it's tempting to begin later, and we need to begin quickly. And I say that, and I know I've been late myself, and when I have, I do apologize, because that isn't fair. I'm just going to do it anyway. What do we call these factors that move from generation to generation? Pardon? Yeah, what are they? We wouldn't say you have a factor for tall or short. You have a gene. Sometimes they're blue. Haha, blue gene. Thank you. Your mark just went up. I often think I need a laugh track. I need a bunch of buttons here, and then I could just like create my own. It'd be fantastic. If you're ever thinking of donating to the school, specify it's for Mr. Neufeld's sound system. I have a whole bunch of ideas now that we're in the new space that I want to do. Number one, I want to dig out the floor and put individualized squares that can raise or lower. As well, little lines that can have walls coming up. Have you seen those bathrooms that when you like close the door, it goes opaque? Imagine I could go press a button and boom, there's walls all around you. And I can make it so that it becomes clear only where I am. So someone's being a little disruptive, boom, walls around them. They can only see me. If I controlled the world. Anyway, it is 9:09. You have a 5-minute break because we just did a whole ton of notes. Go to the washroom, stand up and shake your legs if you're not going to do anything else. You can grab your phones, play whatever that blockade is that everybody's excited about.
The walnut. Can I explain the walnut?
Yeah,
thing?
explain the walnut thing.
It's less about an individual,
Yeah.
like an individual, but that's how a lot of Americans talk about it. There's a ton of walnut varieties, like more than apple varieties.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think it's because walnuts have quite a few genes in fruit. Anyway, not going into
Yeah.
certain to get the biggest fruit, you want different varieties because the same variety will make seeds.
Yeah.
Like more seed, like there'll be less energy in the fruit and more
Oh,
seeds.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
So
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Different varieties will make the
Yeah.
fruit bigger.
That's, gardeners will literally sometimes cut fruit off a plant if they have
Yeah.
too much, so more of the energy goes into the fruit they have left. Yeah,
And so
makes sense.
there's a similar effect with specifically the nut trees, where some varieties just won't make seeds for other varieties. But because how like nut trees make varieties really quickly, like if you have like a few generations, it'll be significantly different enough that it might not reproduce with what its ancestor like
Really?
2 or 3 generations ago.
They're fast evolving.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they have, in that they're also long-lived, so they have to have some mechanism for changing food later, I guess.
So just some walnuts just won't reproduce with most walnut trees except for like you can see that these 2 walnut trees are mates as this one will only take pollen from this one because it just
So if they get pollen from multiple sources, they won't accept the pollen?
No.
Or they're just incompatible?
the pollen will when pollen from a different enough plant it'll kill the flower.
Yeah.
Not kill the flower, it'll kill sorry. The the tube that goes to the UVA,
Yep.
that is designed to like react with other pollens to stop that. You just need it just so happen to be right. So there's this one walnut tree that I've had the pleasure of trying to make produce walnuts.
You a mate?
Nothing I could do could figure out how to get a walnut for it. But there was one walnut grown by it, and I assumed there was a tree it liked somewhere.
Somewhere,
And
yeah.
one bee came, like maybe like got blown in the wind,
Yeah.
pollinated one flower and left.
That is one of the reasons that's fascinating. There's an equivalent in human reproduction. Not to be too detailed necessarily, because we're not biology 12. But the equivalent of swimming, that process is healthy. Environment is actually fairly harsh. If you have genes that are often deleterious, if they happen to fertilize an egg, like they would say, maybe your legs wouldn't grow, or you'd end up with like a stunted anything. Often those affect the motility, and so they're literally slower and they're exposed to the harsher environment for longer, and they tend to die off. And so the ones that reach the egg often tend to be the healthiest, not just the fastest one, they have the healthiest genes overall. But there's also a process, because they used to think the first one there wins the race. And now they know the egg, through some process we still don't understand, selects it. So many will reach there first, but of that first few, the egg will go, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you, you're good. Fertilize. So it's choosy. And it makes sense to be choosy.
That's why walnuts are usually, because walnuts are the only nut tree that have sexes. They evolved sexes after the other
Really?
nut trees. I'm pretty sure. That's what Mr. Brennan said. And if I'm not mistaken, but that's why, that's one of the reasons there's so many clone varieties of fruit trees, and specifically walnuts, because they're very choosy on what they'll make good seeds with.
Yeah, almost every variety you buy, it's a clone. They
Yeah.
grow it from a thing. Yeah.
You want to know my favorite fact about clones? The app,
They have terrible aim.
True. If you buy like a actually, if you just see an apple tree, you'll see near the bottom, there's like a part on almost every apple tree where it's like just messed up. There's like a.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
Is it a pear tree?
No.
Okay.
There's of all the varieties of apple that are grown, they're grown specifically for the fruit, except for one, which makes really good root systems.
Oh.
So they grow the root tree first, cut it, and then
Slice it. I said pear because I heard something like that where someone had found like a variety of pear tree that had good roots, and so they were putting their apple trees on it. So a homegrown version of the same thing.
You can so almost any apple tree, you can tell if it was grown by seed or if it was grafted by an amateur or if it was done professionally, because if it's professional, there's like a lobule.
That's really cool. Yeah, the amount of science that goes into food production nowadays and just growing, cloning, putting different parts, almost any changing different the species of the trunk to change the flavor of the part you graft on. That's really cool.
Grafting, like it usually has to be in the same botanical genus. It doesn't have to be if you use a rooting hormone. So
That's how they do it.
So you can get like a blueberry, orange, apple, pear mix monstrosity, like that someone's thrown together in their basement after soaking them in rooting hormone.
Oh, if you can do that, I'd be curious if you could get a fruit tree branch growing off of something like a maple tree, where we know the sap has like a particular flavor and lots of sugar. Would that affect the flavor? How much?
I like the idea of like the thing with fruit trees that like apple trees that I don't like is they grow really short, but I like walnuts because they get as big as maple trees, but still produce food. It feels like I'm a monkey climbing up there eating walnuts.
Okay, where are we at? We are past 5 minutes, I believe. We started at 9:09, way past 5 minutes. I talked about walnuts too long. Okay, put away your phones, get out your notes.
Graham Shepherd's trying to tell me he's in Guatemala, and I don't believe him.
He is not in Guatemala. Holy, where's Graham Shepherd?
He's not here. He says he's in
Again?
Guatemala.
Okay, turn to the next page. We're going to add in some genetics to our phenotypes. And I'm going to show you how this is done. So first of all, if I was to take our previous case, this is our true breeding tall. And that is a terrible way to write that. You have two genes, one from your mom, one from your dad, and if you're true breeding, they're both the same. Also, I don't wish to imply that it is better if they are true breeding. There is such a thing as hybrid vigor, in which if you have two different ones, you're often better off. True breeding tall, we have now true breeding short. So this is the P, this will be the F1. Notice I use the same letters. We use the same letters when we talk about a trait. And so the dominant trait is given a capital, the recessive trait is given the lowercase of the same letter. So you wouldn't use S for short, for example, you'd use lowercase t. Now, what would the offspring's genotype be? This is where I should probably get out my phone and start asking people questions. What would the genotype of the offspring be? Nick. If you say TT, I will stab you.
It is TT though.
Well, yeah, it's capital, lowercase, uppercase?
Both uppercase.
Both uppercase, no. You inherit one from your mom and one from your dad. So what must it be? Right here.
G
No, don't look down there. Don't look here. Mom, you inherit one.
Yeah.
Dad, you inherit one. So child should be. What do they get from mom?
Uppercase.
Uppercase T. What do they get from dad? Lowercase t. That's the genotype. And all the children have to be that, because that's all mom can provide, that's all dad can provide. Heads up, Liam, you're going to be the next question. Accidentally pressed the button. I already awarded you the points. So,
You have to get it right.
What if I
tall and short is the phenotype. And this and those are the genotype. Now, this is a fairly easy example. You have only one there, and you only get one type. And I was writing it 4 along. The reason I was writing it 4 along is that we often do this not like this, but with a Punnett square. So a Punnett square, make a square, and then Punnett. If we had, I didn't leave myself much room, but I'll put mom there and dad there. And this, traditionally, dad is put here and mom is put there in terms of where you put them on traditional Punnett squares, but in terms of calculating the results, it really doesn't matter. But if we were to do that, then you take, maybe I will just spread this out so I can show that, because you're going to do your own in a moment. Go away. Capital, capital, that lowercase, lowercase. You take the genes of the parent and you separate them like they would separate. What is the process in which you make sperm or egg from last year? Meiosis. So in the process of meiosis, they split up. And so we are showing the individual sperm and egg. They split up. And then in the children, they recombine, so you can show all the different recombinations. By tradition, and this is how we define it, we always write the dominant trait first. So it's always capital T, then lowercase t, never the other way around. But you can see you're always going to get a capital in this case as it goes along from mom. And then from dad, you're always going to get the lowercase. And there's only 4 different types. In this case, the 4 different types are identical. But you can see it a little bit better if I made them different colors. So if I made that a red one, and I said that was that one, then those are these. If I made, and I'll keep the other one orange, but let's use, this one is green, that is green. And then let's make this one light blue. Then you can see the light blue. And you can see those are different combinations. They just turn out to be the same because it's the same type of gene. So they all have the dominant trait, and this is why they're all going to be tall. So that is the parent generation. What I would like you to do here is I would like you to do the Punnett square, F2 Punnett. So this is F1. I would like you to make your own Punnett square and give me the Punnett square for the F2 generation and the genotype and the phenotype ratio. Now here, the ratio's easy. The ratio is all tall. Like I don't even have to do a ratio. It's just all tall. But you can use numbers, 1 to 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 2 to 2, whatever works out well. You're going to get a different ratio. Put that together. I'm going to walk around, take a look, give hints. Confuse people.
Wait, do you want us to draw it as a square or the same way that you
You can do it, use this as a model, so draw the same type of square, but then put in You're doing the F2, so what are the parents going to be?
Uh-oh.
Okay, that is an actual fire bell.